channel. If you're new, welcome. My name is Meg, and today we are doing a beauty battle between Morphe's James Charles palette and the ABH Alyssa Edwards palette. Which will come out on top? We are back for yet again another beauty battle. This is part of my ABH Alyssa Edwards palette series, so I will have a link up above, also down below. And I was just really curious to see how it compared to the Morphe James Charles palette. Obviously, this palette has a lot more colors and a different shade range. But if you are somebody that's on the fence of which colorful palette should I get, this could be a really helpful video for you. If you already own this palette and want to see how this compares, this is a helpful video for you because, well, I don't want to spoil anything. Before we get into it, I want to know your predictions now. Leave it in the comments. Let's say, what do you think this left eye is right here? It probably looks like right to you guys because it's reversed, but this is my left. Which palette do you think is on my left eye? And which palette do you think is on my right eye with my piercings? Or do you think that they look pretty much the same? I'm also going to throw up some swatches for you guys once I get the eye look done. I'll show you swatches of the shadows I use in the Anastasia palette compared to what they look like swatched to the Morphe palette, so you can get a little bit better of an idea because there's some slight differences and major differences depending on the color. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get this battle started. All right, so I have my eyes primed, my upper lid, my lower lash line primed with the primer. And a quick tip with the primer, if you're having issues with it just constantly like blurping out product, like so much is coming out, store it upside down and it will kind of stop the product from like instantly pouring out as soon as you take the cap off.
Hi, hello. I forgot to mention in the intro somehow, but I am recreating Nikki Tutorial's look that she did using the Alyssa Edwards palette. So if you're curious about her video and you haven't seen it for some reason, I feel like so many people have seen it, I'll have it linked down below, but that is a look that I'm using for this tutorial because all the colors in that tutorial are interchangeable with the James Charles palette.
Alright, so Nikki starts off with the yellow, so I'm going to go ahead and dip into ABH first. This is going to be the ABH side, this is going to be the James side, and let's hump to it. For the yellow in the James palette, there is only one yellow shadow in here. And it looks like it's a little bit deeper than Brick Road. So yes, this is definitely in person more of a like dandelion shade of yellow. We are still going to make it work. I will say that I was able to pack that on easier than Brick Road. This one I'm having to build up just a little bit more. There we go, it looks pretty even. Next we're gonna go into the pink, which is Texas Made. And then in the James palette, this is the color Skip. In the James palette, this is the color Skip. Skip is definitely more of a brighter neon pink versus Texas Made is a little bit more like hot pink. You can just see on camera and in person, this is just the slightest bit brighter than the other pink. But you really have to stare to notice. This eye isn't blending as easily as the ABH side. You can kind of see the marks that are in my shadow. Okay, I definitely had to spend more time blending this eye, and these little marks just aren't going away no matter how much I blend. So now for the purple, of course we have Believe from ABH. And then what I think, there's like really no comparable purple in this palette. So I'm gonna take a mix of these two, but probably focus more on this one, I guess. But I'm gonna take a mixture of both of these. You can just see how easy and effortless the purple just blended right into the pink. See, automatically I can tell that this purple isn't as pigmented as the Anastasia one. It's just a little bit drier too. And if you can also see, we're starting to get a wee bit patchy up in here, where on this side, we don't have any patchiness. This purple in the James palette is the one shadow in here that has given me the most trouble, most issues. So far, I'm just noticing little differences. Like this eye, the purple was more pigmented. It went on as liner in a more uniform line. Whereas over here, I applied it the exact same way and it just went on a little bit messy. But now I'm going to take the shade Inspire from ABH. And then let's see, which shade is more similar? This shade right here in the James palette. I am having to dip in a lot more to this Morphe shimmer than I am in the Anastasia shimmer. But they look pretty dang close. So here is the upper lash line. Now let's go ahead and get started on the lower lash line. So Nikki goes in with the blue Dream It first for the outer corner of her lower lash line. And in my opinion, this blue right here is the closest to the shadow in ABH.
It never fails. Every time I check my monitor to make sure my mirror isn't blocking what I'm doing, and then I go to look in my mirror and move it without realizing it, so it is in fact blocking. Love that for us.
Starting to get a little bit patchy. These colors aren't wanting to seamlessly blend into each other like how we got on this side. And again, I'm having to go into a second dip of that blue shadow. Next, Nikki said that she mixed the pink and white together, so I will be mixing the pink and white together in both palettes. Ooh, that's making like a really pretty pink color. I like that. Then Nikki went in with Supreme before putting white in her inner corner. So to get Supreme, I'm gonna take a mix of the orange in the James palette and then this bigger pan right here. So these two mixed together to mock Supreme. I don't think I've used the color Supreme yet. That looked like a pretty good dupe. All that's left to do is add the white to the inner corner. So my camera actually died before I got the chance to put the white on the inner corner on the James Charles side. So now that I've got a little bit of juice in it, I'm going to go ahead and do just that. And then I'm going to re-brighten this inner corner since I put the rest of my makeup on. I feel like even this white is just so much more pigmented and present than the James Charles one, and I had to dip in about 3 or 4 times for that one, so. And if you were wondering, on my lower lash line, I just have this LA Girl Neon Shockwave Liner in the shade Electric. At first, like mini sidebar. These weren't very pigmented in the lash line, but once I sharpened them, they became more pigmented. So if you happen to have these and have the same issues, maybe that helps. Anyway, here is the difference. This is the ABH eye. And this is the James Charles eye. Personally, looking at the viewfinder, I do think that the ABH eye is more pigmented. Here you can just see like there's some patchiness with the shadows. It's just not as smooth of a transition or a blend. You can still see the little lines that I literally sat here after my camera died and was blending it more and more and more, and I couldn't get these little itty bitty lines to go away. So this was just more difficult and more time consuming to blend together, where this was just super pigmented off the bat. I only had to dip in each shadow once, maybe twice. It blended easily. I spent a lot less time on this eye. This one was just more difficult to work with. I was having to dip into the shadows multiple times. I was having to spend a lot longer blending. The purple, like I said, in the James Charles palette, the dark purple is literally like the worst purple I've ever used in my life. So I'm not surprised that it's patchy over here. I was surprised that I was having a difficulty blending the yellow and pink together. That surprised me. The shimmer in the ABH palette is definitely more pigmented, stands out a little bit more, and again, I had to dip into the shadow on the James side, or I guess I should be saying Morphe side, so much more. So let's go ahead and get into some swatches. All right, let's go ahead and get into some swatches. So here is the difference. My pointer finger will always be ABH. My middle finger will be Morphe. So here they look pretty similar, but like I said, when I went to apply the ABH shadow, or when I went to apply the Morphe shadow, it was a little bit more of a dandelion color. So here is the shadow applied with 2 passes. So that's 1, 2. That's how much I applied the shadow. You can see that the Morphe shadow is a wee more patchy. Up next is going to be Texas Made, and then like the more neon pink. Here you can definitely see a difference. The pink in the Morphe palette is more purple toned, where the pink in ABH is more like red, true pink. So here is the difference. They both kind of applied pretty similar, not exactly the smoothest all the way through, but they apply fine to the eye. So up next are the purples in the palette. Again, there's quite a bit of difference here. Well, I guess I did mix that purple with the lighter one, so I guess I'll mix my swatch of them. But the Anastasia pigment is a lot more brighter and more, I guess you could say, neon looking compared to the one that's in the James palette. And here, this is with 1 pass. So this one applied a little bit more opaque, but I think that's because I layered the 2 shadows together. I don't know, but you could just see how full of pigment this first pass is. Then we have the blue color. So again, not an exact match. This one for the Morphe palette is a little bit brighter, but they all kind of applied the same on the eyes, right? Pretty fair in swatching for the blues. Now we just have one more matte and the shimmers to swatch. So up next we have Supreme, and then on the middle finger is a mix of the 2 to try to match to Supreme. Supreme is definitely more like coral red-ish based. Now we have the shimmers, which are almost identical. The ABH one is definitely brighter. Like this shimmer is like super unique and it is stunning. So even on the swatch, you can just notice the difference in brightness, the top one being ABH. They're both beautiful. And I almost forgot the whites. I feel like it's kind of pointless to swatch these because it's just white eyeshadow. I don't know. So here is a close-up super zoom. I would say swatching wise, they're almost pretty similar and identical how they swatch, but they just perform so much different. It's so weird. This is why I don't normally like doing a lot of swatching in on my channel in general, because swatches don't really tell you anything. It's how the eyeshadows apply and work where you'll learn if it's a good palette or not, or if the formulation is good or not. So what do you think about swatches? Let me know in the comments. But let's go ahead and wrap this video up. Now that we are nice and zoomed out, I just threw on some Ardell wispy lashes if you're curious. But I'm curious about your thoughts. Which palette won the beauty battle for you? Did you prefer the James palette? Did you prefer the Alyssa Edwards palette? Which one is a winner in your book? I'm super, super curious. You got to see how the eyeshadows perform. You got to see swatches. What is your final verdict? Let me know in the comments. And while we're here, be sure to check out the other videos that are in my Alyssa Edwards playlist. I have one final video coming out that will probably be up next week for you guys. But let's get into my final verdict. Drum roll, please. In my humble opinion, the winner for me in this beauty battle is the Alyssa Edwards palette. I'm going to tell you why. The pigment is there, the blendability is there, the ease is there, there's like no fallout, it is so easy to work with. There's so many different looks that you can come up with. The white eyeshadow really works well with the others to blend them, as we saw on the lower lash line. However, if you already have the James Charles palette and you're on the fence, you probably don't need this. If you definitely want it, I think it's worth checking out. I'm obsessed with this palette. I'm so happy I purchased it. But if you were kind of on the fence and you already have this, you could easily make do with this. That's not a problem. I need to get dinner going. But yes, I just found that the Alyssa palette was just so much easier to work with. I could get this eye done so much faster than sitting here, because I remember when I first started playing with the James Charles palette, I was sitting there for I think it was almost 2 hours it took me to do one eyeshadow look, because I was just having to blend, pack and blend, because the shadows in here, the formulation is a little bit more difficult to work with. So keep that in mind. The Alyssa palette, easy peasy. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you like this beauty battle. Let me know in the comments down below, what is your favorite colorful palette that you have? I would love to hear from you. Don't forget to subscribe on your way out, turn on the notification bells, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye everyone.